Greetings, you're watching Malaika, the talk show for African Christian women. In today's discourse, we'll be talking about a trade. What trade, you might ask? A very sinister trade. Stay tuned to know the topic of the day. Sex trafficking. Is there such a thing as sex trafficking? And if there is there any hope at all for someone that is involved in it? And today I'm in the company of Mama Audrey.
Hello, Jackie. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you too, Mama. We have Tatiana.
Thank you, Jackie.
And all the way from Zimbabwe, we have Auntie Zodwa.
Good to be here, Jackie.
Yes, good to have you, Zodwa, with us today. So viewers, we also have a video of a survivor today, so stay connected to see what that is all about. And to get us started, we're going to move over to Tatiana for Tat's Overview. Tatiana, a very sinister trade indeed.
It is, Jackie.
What do you have for us?
Well, let's look at first what is sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is characterized by sexual exploitation through force, fraud, or coercion. Unfortunately, traffickers are baiting and enslaving these victims by false promises of employment in major cities around the world. However, upon arrival, these individuals are often threatened, abused, and sold in the sex industry. Men are often lured into the industry through construction and agricultural work, and women are often lured in by jobs of modeling, au pairing, and waitressing.
Okay.
In fact, often when we think about sex trafficking, you think that traffickers are really targeting a specific type of woman or man or child, but in fact there is no profile. All these victims are in fact victims.
Okay.
Let's look at some statistics. The United Nations International Labour Organization estimates that approximately 3.8 million adults and 1 million children are victims of forced sexual exploitation in the world today. And profits from this industry are estimated at 99 billion worldwide. It's a money-making business.
Yeah, for sure.
And sadly, many of these victims, even if they do attempt to seek out help from the police, they're often arrested for sex crimes.
Oh.
So it's really a vicious cycle in which many really can't escape. Over 400,000 people in Africa are victims of sexual exploitation. So what is the modus operandi of traffickers? Number one, you have pimp-controlled trafficking. Number two, you have gang-controlled trafficking. Three is familial trafficking, and this is whereby a man, he marries a woman, of course, she believes that he's in love with her, but shortly after the marriage, she understands that she actually has been baited.
He had another agenda.
He has another agenda completely. And sadly, often, in fact, many of these men wait until his wife has 1 or 2 children, and then he's really hooked her in because now
she can't leave.
Exactly, because they say that, well, unless you pay off a debt, unless you do something, I'm not giving you back your children. And the children are kept completely in the dark, and mommy is just going off to work. Lastly, we have cyber sex traffickers, and we also have leading global hotels who are actually making a huge profit from sex trafficking in alliance with this.
Oh, that is truly sinister, and it's a very serious topic that we're dealing with today. Over to you, Auntie Zodwa, for some context on the ground, please.
Yeah, Jackie, this is not an easy one because I think, as Tatiana has already said, we're talking about victims. It's not that people actually choose to get into this. They're either lured, and in Southern Africa, we're seeing a lot of young girls, because of poverty, that get offered jobs. That's one of the most common ways that they lure these young people to get into an industry that they're not prepared for. So it's real, it's out there, and they're looking for any innocent victim that they can grab. But I just want to really mention, especially South Africa, because in South Africa, the statistics also mention that every 5 hours, a child goes missing. And that is huge. And most of these children are never to be seen again. I mean, when you see, even if you go online, the faces, the number of missing children, it's incredible. And we all know where they've gone. They've been sold into the industry. The parents are looking in Cape Town. The child is already in Europe. And they pick them off the streets. In fact, I read a story a woman parked by the robots and driving with her child in the back seat, a 3-year-old. A man tried to grab the child because the window was slightly open. So this is really, it's amazing the extent to which these traffickers are going to get their, they would call it their loot, but this is these are people. So for me, it's unbelievable where we are in the world today. So over to Mama Audrey. I don't even know what to say.
Auntie Zodwa, that is, it's too shocking what the world has become and what the world we live in. Mama Audrey, could you please comment on what Auntie
I
Zodwa
think
said?
that somehow we don't have the right figures. And I think we don't have the right perspective here, because sex trafficking goes much further than girls being au pairing or whatever. The huge, biggest problem is what Auntie Zodwa mentioned. It's children being kidnapped for sex trafficking. This is 8 million a year. And we're talking about 15 children missing every second.
That is too high, Mama.
In every minute in the world. And these kids are just brought in, they are kidnapped, they are sent to the elite, they are sent to those who are, it's a whole market. It's more, there's more gain, I don't have the right word in English, there's more gain in the sex trafficking of children than in the drug traffic today. This is the highest paid trade in the world. And unfortunately, parents do not take enough care of their kids, because where are these kids kidnapped? In the malls, in the streets, in the shops.
Playgrounds.
In playgrounds, where they are alone. Exactly, this is where they go missing. And if you go to every international airport, you'll see huge notice boards with this kid missing. And that is very, very sad, because as Auntie Zodwa said, they go and they're never to be seen. Imagine if your child is dead, you mourn the child,
Exactly.
but living every day of your life,
Knowing your child is alive.
not knowing what is happening to that child, what is being done, what is he going through, that is, I think, a nightmare. And unfortunately, this is happening every day, all day, every hour, every minute, every second in this world. And this is something we must wake up to, because it does concern our children.
Yes.
Nobody can be spared. It does concern our children. This is why, once again, beware of being so much on the internet, putting pictures of your children on Facebook, putting pictures of your kids on the social network, because they become targets. We know what you do, where you go, where you're meeting, what is your beach you're going, what school is going. Stop putting your life on a tablet, on internet. Keep your life private. They already know too much about you. They already know too much about your child. So keep it private. And stop advertising. Stop putting yourself in bikinis and in whatever and in all sorts of shape and form on internet, because you become a potential target. Because there are predators all around us. That predator can be your boss. It can be your friend, as we're going to hear later on.
Yes.
It can be your friend. It can be anybody who is involved in that business, because they hire people not only to be sex trafficked, but once they are sex trafficked, they hire them to find other people for them. And this is, I believe, there must be a great awakening, because it's not slowing down. And once again,
Accelerating, yeah.
it's corrupt at the highest level. It's politicians, it's elite. It's going multiplying every day, because the demand is so great that obviously there must be a provision for that demand.
Exactly. Yeah, people might think that, no, it will never happen to me, but we're going to listen to a testimony now of a survivor viewer. So stay tuned and just listen to this testimony.
being taped up and you're naked in a dark room and your hands cuffed. It was, you know, you don't know who comes in and who goes out. And I was really thinking that the person I came to see was a friend, and it wasn't. It was just a lie. And just being 2 weeks, no food, nothing, and you just smell like semen. And after that 2 weeks, it was the anger of life, that you don't like life at all. And it was straight into drugs and prostitution from club to club in Johannesburg. It was a very empty room. And I was like, wow, your room is empty. And she's like, ugh, don't worry. You know, as we go through the year, we're going to start buying stuff and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. She walked out the room, and that was the last time I saw her. And then I think first 3 guys walked in, which was Zimbabweans. And then I was confused, and they just said, well, didn't your friend tell you? And I think that's where my heart really reached my throat. And they did everything, and then they were the first, and after they did that, they tied me up. And it went on for at least, I think, 10 to 11 days. There were times, there's this technique that I did of holding my breath and just trying to get myself out of conscious and not breathe. And that would happen. And I would not breathe at all, and I would just close my eyes. And as the choking, and the one guy does what he does, and the other side of your body, and the other guy does what then my mind would just switch off, and that would be it. After that 2 weeks, just taking a bath was a problem. Because I remember I was in whatever shower, which was a public shower that was in Park Station. And smelling like semen went on for months because that's what I was soaked in for 2 weeks. If you're trafficked, that's what I learned on that particular time. There has to be another new girl. And I was kicked out of the house because there was another new girl. And I had to find my own way. And I went straight to Park Station. I had to find a guy, truck driver, to give me my first prostitution money. Had sex with him so I can buy clothes and dress myself up. And then he went to the streets, and whatever prostitution I did on Johannesburg streets was always for money and drugs. There was nothing of money to get out because there was too much anger going on. Your day doesn't look like night, your night doesn't look like day, because you just have reflections on what's happened with you. So with my friend, it's somebody that I knew, but it wasn't somebody that I know that could traffic me. Because the way she put it, it was a girl, she was a student, and you know, she was at UJ and all of that, and I didn't know that she had other plans of making money for me, because obviously when it turned out, it's like the money she made off me was for her to continue to study.
Mama Audrey, this is extremely traumatic. I can't even imagine having to go through that, what she actually went through. But is there hope for someone who has gone through something like that?
I think she was very lucky. At the end of the day, that it lasted 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that another girl came to replace her. Because some, they never go. They stay there all their lives, you know, and it's never enough. It's absolutely never enough. They even end up having kids, and for their kids being used for trafficking. And that is their fate for all their lives. So what can be done apart from awakening people? You know, I've been reading a lot lately about sex trafficking, and I learned that in many parts of the world, you've got dumps, which are deep underground military bases that are being used, that connect countries, and that are being used to traffic kids. There are boats which are known, there are specific harbors, specific hotels at these specific harbors where these kids are trafficked, where these kids come from Malaysia, come from whatever country to the United States. From there, they go into these hotels. From there, they are sent to the elite, to the whatever. And it is absolutely incredible, because I realized that I lived in denial, having no idea of what's happening around me every day, all day, everywhere in the world. And the worst part of it is that the children are the most targeted for many reasons. And I mean, that's heartbreaking. And I can imagine how the Lord must feel when he sees what's happening on this planet Earth. If he brought a flood in those days, I don't know what he's going to bring, but something will have to happen, because this is going too far.
But what about these women, though? What about these women who have lived these horrific things, these horrific experiences? As she said in her story, she just had these nightmares and it was going back and forth. How does someone live that if they do manage to get out of it, but to come to Christ? How can they be free?
That's the only way, not only to come to Jesus, but to find a place where they won't be judged. Unfortunately, it's not everywhere. Where they won't be rejected. They won't be considered like the dog sheep, where they will have people with the heart of Jesus to love them, because it's a road. You're not restored from day one to the next day. It will take a time. It takes love, patience, care, everything you need, revelation of the gospel, feeling the heart of Jesus for you, to set you free, to love you, to take you out of this situation, because the Lord is not only able, but he wants to. So there is hope, but outside of Jesus and outside of the gospel, unfortunately, there is not much hope. These people will have to live with their shame, with their feeling of rejection, for a woman, we know about raping of women as an act of war. We know that. And then they are being traded, they are being trafficked for any good reason. Today for money. This is why, young girls must be wise, parents must be wise. They mustn't just let their kids alone. Not alone in their homes, not alone in the car, not alone in the playing grounds, not alone in the shop. They must realize that these kids are targets, are potential targets. I remember the story of that woman, air hostess, who was in a plane in America, and she saw that little girl with that elderly man, and she felt something was not right, but there's nothing she could do. And at one stage, she just waited for the child to go to the toilet. And she had put a note on the seat, "Do you need help?" And that child put a note and said yes. And she immediately went to alarm the pilot. And when the plane landed, police was there, arrested the man, set that child free.
Yes, she was very alert.
We need to be. In a restaurant, I've seen also in a restaurant where there was a child with a family where this child was being trafficked, and he was looking desperately at somebody who was in the restaurant. And at one time, that person managed to escape the control of the parents and asked her, "Do you need help?" And the child nodded. And this is how, so we must be aware that children around us, and mainly our children, we must be so careful. We don't send them anywhere to play. Like this girl, that was a friend.
Yes.
We must be careful who are our friends, who are the ones who invite our kids to play, who are the ones inviting them in their homes. Kids are a gift from the Lord. We must look after them more than diamonds, silver and gold.
Yes, and Mama Audrey, thank you for that. We're just going to move over to Auntie Zodwa now. Auntie Zodwa, could we hear your comments, please, regarding what we're speaking about?
Yes, listening to what Mama Audrey was saying, I just realized that, especially in Southern Africa, I'll mention Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia, life is still very simple. And South Africa, that's where everything is happening, because they are almost like first world. So it's very easy for us in these other countries in Africa to be sleepy, to be naive, not to be clued in what is happening in the world. So I really want to take this opportunity to challenge the sisters, the women who are listening to this program, to say, let's wake up. Let's keep our eyes open. We may actually save a victim if we are led. And not only that, let's speak to our children about it, because it's coming to us. It's not just going to end in South Africa. It has happened in Zimbabwe a few times, but it's not in the papers. It's not something that people talk about. So hopefully through this program, we can be aware that there is this evil at our doorstep, and we can be prepared and take care of our children and our girls. And also, really, for me, my heart breaks for any girl who's been caught up in this, who's a victim of this, has been through this. Listening to the testimony, I can't even believe the things that women go through. It's unbelievable. And it may look hopeless, it may look like there's no hope for you. And as she said, the only thing she wanted to do was to take her life and to just die. But today, we just want to say that Jesus Christ is still alive.
Amen.
He's on the throne, and he is able to help you in your time of need. So if you are watching today and you are in that situation, it's not hopeless. He is there. Just knock and he will answer, and he will help you through the situation.
Thank you for that, Auntie Zodwa. Thank you so much. Mama Audrey, could you also please give us more advice for parents?
You know, as I was sharing earlier on, I did listen to some testimonies of a survivor who used to be she was self-trafficked, but then she became part of the team to recruit children to bring into the fold of trafficking. And she was saying that one thing that really is totally proof is
solid proof
is that skin. She called it skin to skin, meaning that parents, wherever they go with their kids, hold hands. Don't let the child run away, not even in a leash, not even go to the toilet. You know, even in churches, sometimes you see these little kids going to the toilet alone. Don't. Go with them, skin to skin. You go to the shops, hold their hands wherever you go, because these kids are the ones they would not try. But they would go for every other kid, in the cars, walking, running, playing with a balloon, watching toys. The next minute, we've all seen films. You're in a shop, you are with your child, you are in a playground, on the next minute you're on the phone, you're talking, and before you know, you look around and your child is gone. We really have to be more careful. We really have to realize that this child is worth a lot of money.
Yes.
For people, because he can be sold over and over and over again. It's never once. It's just being sold over and over again. And it is such, we heard Tatiana said that, I believe the figure she gave is very little.
Yes.
It's one of the most profiting business in the world today is child sex trafficking. Not just sex trafficking, but child sex trafficking. So your child is a gift of the Lord. By all means, do everything you can for that child. Let that child know that you love him. Let that child know that he's precious, that is beautiful, so that they don't want to run away from your house. They are happy in your house. They don't have to go and look for substitute on internet. I believe it is so important that we find time for these children, because if we don't show interest in them, there are many people around us that will see that and that might make plans about your child. When I look at little kids walking to school alone, I said, guys, how can we do that? Or little child on a bus stop alone.
Alone, yeah. It's like easy bait.
It is like saying, guys, I'm here.
Yes.
Take me.
Mama Audrey, what if one of our viewers are in that situation, their child is missing, their child is gone, and they're living with this today? What word can we bring to them?
Oh, Lord. Only Jesus can soothe their hearts, They can cry to the Lord. I know we've seen movies as well where children were missing, real stories, where the mother went around the world to get back a child, and she ended up getting a child. But it's not everyday stories. Trust the Lord for a miracle. Pray and trust Jesus for a miracle, because He knows where the child is. He knows.
Yes, He does.
And just can only trust in the grace of the Lord, otherwise you lose your head. You end up in an asylum.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for those comments. We've come to the end of the show. So could you give us your ending comments, please?
I would just like to encourage the survivors, if any, listening to us. I know what I'm going to say can be hard, but they need to forgive. That is the only way to freedom for them. And they need to be able to humble themselves and realize that keeping a grudge against these people, whatever were done to them, until they forgive, they'll never be able to be free from thinking, imagining, living what they live. This is going to haunt them all their lives. And the way to freedom is forgiveness. And the way to forgive is Jesus and the gospel. To be able to speak to our heart, to bring a conviction, to soften our hearts so that we can humble ourselves and realize that this is the key to our freedom. And it's not vengeance, it's not doing any good to us to keep these things in our hearts. We must be able to forgive. And if they're struggling to forgive, they can write to us. We are there for them. We'd love to help them. We'd love to speak to them. We'd love to walk with them. Yes. Zodwa mentioned about women who were in Zimbabwe, who came from Kuwait. These women need help. They need to feel the love of Jesus. They need to be restored. And it is possible with the gospel, with the Lord, with the heart of Jesus. Everything is possible. And these women can be restored to a normal life and be a blessing to start maybe a movement, to start awakening people around them, to help them understand how these things are done and how to protect their children and how to be protected themselves.
Amen. Thank you for those final concluding statements, Mama Audrey. And viewers, please, I hope you've listened and taken note of this. It is very serious. Our children are precious. Please keep them close to you. It's been great having you once again.
Thank you.
Mama Audrey, awesome being with you. Auntie Zodwa, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. And we have come to the end of the season, viewers. Thank you so much for being faithful, for being with us. May the Lord richly bless you. If you haven't done it already, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and smack that bell. Till next time, may God bless you. Goodbye.